Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're stepping right into a world where stunning art, ancient mathematics, and profound spiritual devotion all collide. We are going to explore the absolutely mesmerizing world of the Tibetan Thangka. Now, if you've ever had the privilege of seeing one of these in person, you already know they're breathtakingly intricate. But there's this incredibly deep well of mystery, history, and reverence woven into every single thread and brushstroke. And honestly, it often goes entirely unnoticed by the casual observer. Let's fix that. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, more than a painting. Second, ancient origins and evolution. Third, the sacred creation process. Fourth, devotion, ritual, and meditation. And finally, number 5, decoding the sacred symbolism. Let's just dive right in.
All right, Section 1. More than a painting, the portable sacred universe.
Take a look at this. Notice that elaborate, beautifully textured silk brocade framing the serene central Buddha? Well, that fabric isn't just there to look pretty, it's highly functional. You see, Thangkas were specifically designed to be rolled up. Think of it kind of like a portable sacred universe. This brilliant, lightweight design meant that monks, wandering teachers, and pilgrims could easily carry these profound spiritual tools across the vast, rugged, and completely unforgiving landscapes of the Himalayas.
So how do we actually define it? A Thangka is, at its core, a highly revered form of Buddhist sacred art, but it actively functions as a visual scripture, a highly complex meditation tool, and a crucial preserver of religious tradition. It is absolutely not just some wall hanging designed to make a monastery or a living room look aesthetically pleasing. No, for a practitioner, unrolling a Thangka is literally like opening up a multidimensional map of enlightened reality. Moving right along to Section 2. Ancient Origins and Evolution, a Journey Across Asia. So our timeline kicks off way back in ancient India. Early Buddhist communities there used painted banners, illustrated manuscripts, and cave murals, think of the incredibly famous Ajanta caves, to communicate their teachings. Then fast forward to the 7th century, and these traditions start migrating to Tibet under King Songtsen Gampo. But the real turning point? That happens a bit later in the 10th and 11th centuries, during a massive revival of Buddhism in Tibet. Great masters and scholars were traveling back and forth from India, bringing with them these very strict scriptural rules and iconography that would absolutely define and codify Thangka art forever. Because over time, Tibet became this vibrant, melting pot of cultural exchange. From Nepal, you had incredibly skilled Nuar artists bringing refined craftsmanship, elegant figure drawing, and really intricate ornamentation. From China came these sweeping landscape elements, distinctive cloud motifs, and gorgeous textile patterns. Tibet basically took all these incredible regional influences, merged them with its own indigenous culture, and forged a highly sophisticated, entirely unique art style. It's really a beautiful synthesis of Asian artistic mastery.
Which, naturally leads us to a pretty fascinating question. How do you actually paint a sacred universe? How do you take centuries of deep religious philosophy and physically manifest it onto a canvas?
That brings us to Section 3, the sacred creation process, mathematics and minerals.
Let's literally walk through this highly sensory, step-by-step process of bringing a Thangka to life. First, the canvas, usually cotton or silk, is stretched out tight, heavily coated with a mixture of chalk and natural glue, and then polished until it is completely smooth. Next up, the artist lays down a precise geometric framework. Once all the sketching is done, they apply the pigments. And hey, we aren't talking about standard tubes of acrylic paint you'd grab at an art store. These are naturally derived colors made from crushed minerals, plants, precious stones like lapis lazuli, and real, actual gold. Finally, in this deeply ritualistic moment, the eyes of the central figure are painted last. This is an essential step known as the opening of the eyes, and it symbolically breathes spiritual life and completion right into the image. But here is what's truly mind-blowing to me, the sacred mathematics of it all. Unlike an ordinary painting where an artist kind of relies on their own mood or creative flair, a traditional Thangka is governed by incredibly strict spiritual guidelines. Every single proportion, every angle, the exact distance between the eyes, or even the precise curve of a lotus petal, it's all dictated by sacred geometry. And why? Because these specific measurements are designed to perfectly accurately represent enlightened qualities. So it's not really about artistic expression. It's about absolute spiritual precision.
All right, Section 4. Devotion, ritual, and meditation, the Thangka in practice.
So how do these function out in the real world? Well, Thangkas are deeply, actively embedded in everyday spiritual practice. They serve as visual scriptures.
Imagine you're living in an ancient community where literacy might be limited. These intricate, layered scenes can teach incredibly complex religious concepts purely through visuals. They also act as essential meditation supports, helping a practitioner actively visualize enlightened realms and deities right in their mind's eye. They act as central focal points during major rituals, festivals, and initiations. And importantly, even the simple act of commissioning a Thangka is considered a highly meritorious act, one that generates positive karma and actually helps preserve Buddhist teachings for the future.
And who exactly are we looking at here? The roster of subjects is remarkably vast. You might see Shakyamuni, the historical Buddha, celestial Buddhas like Amitabha or the medicine Buddha, compassionate bodhisattvas like the green and white Tara, revered lineage masters, incredibly complex cosmic diagrams known as mandalas, or even fierce, fiery protector deities. And you thought keeping track of modern cinematic universes was hard, right? The crucial takeaway here is that every single figure possesses very specific hand gestures, postures, and symbolic objects that literally tell the viewer exactly who they are and what distinct spiritual power they represent.
And finally, Section 5, decoding the secret symbolism, the meaning of color.
In this art form, nothing, absolutely nothing, is random. The color palette itself is an entire language. A deep, resonant blue represents wisdom and the vast, sky-like, limitless nature of the enlightened mind. White symbolizes absolute purity and profound peace. Red signifies deep compassion alongside transformative, fiery power. And green? That represents active, enlightened activity constantly working in the world. So when you look at a Thangka, you aren't just looking at pretty, vibrant colors. You are quite literally reading a sophisticated visual language packed with deep philosophical meaning.